Wow, there has been a lot of things going on lately. With the virus, then the riots, and now the SpaceX launch. The latter two happened within a few days of each other. These are things that shall go down in the history books. But we're not here to talk about the virus or the riots. I'm interested in SpaceX, because whenever there's something like this that happens, you can tell there's unrest in the flat earth community. So we're just gonna make fun of them a little bit, like any other sane person would.
Okay, so the virus wasn't enough. People didn't buy it.
I don't know what you mean by people not buying it. There are over 40 million people who have filed unemployment claims, everyone's staying at home, people are wearing masks, so at the very least people believe it's true, right? But at the end of the day, the virus doesn't care whether or not you believe it exists.
So now they have the riots going on, which are total bullshit.
If you follow me on Twitter, you'd already know what kind of stance I have on riots. I do think there needs to be justice for George Floyd. I also think that something does need to be changed in terms of how minorities are treated in America. On the other hand, I'm not a huge fan of violence and property destruction. There have been a lot of small business owners who were originally thinking about reopening after the virus situation, but will no longer do so due to their stores being looted. These people, who have absolutely nothing to do with anything, just trying to grow their small businesses, are left picking up the pieces of their property. That's something I cannot support. Don't even get me started on violence against other human beings. For those that are peacefully protesting, good on ya. That's the type of stuff I like to see. But there can be a lot of violent actions taken against peaceful protesters by the police too. I have seen way too many clips of peaceful protesters in Washington DC get flashbanged and pepper sprayed. Law enforcers in certain areas are overreacting quite a bit. Speaking of which, this is honestly one of the worst times to possibly hold protests and riots. We're still in the middle of a pandemic. Even if the protesters and police are taking precautions, couldn't this have been done at any other time? I just don't want to see the situation of COVID-19 become worse than it already is. At the very least, everyone should be wearing face masks and we should ban the use of pepper sprays. Pepper spray promotes coughing and rubbing of the eyes, both of which will contribute to the spread of the virus. Anyway, overall I support the ideas of this protest. I just wish there was a better method and a better time to do this.
I mean, really? Look, okay, I don't even want to get into it, whether this guy actually really was killed or not.
I mean, it's pretty obvious he's dead. They even did an autopsy on him.
All I know is it all derived from somebody who had a counterfeit $20 bill, which we will never see, and the cashier will never show it to you.
I don't think at this point it matters whether or not the $20 bill was fake. Anyway, he talks about this for a while, but we're going to skip to the main meat of the story.
SpaceX, what a pathetic show that was. 15 minutes or 20 minutes of footage of what? Of total fucking nonsense.
I personally found it to be pretty entertaining. Well, admittedly I didn't watch it live, but I watched the replay afterwards. Pretty awesome. It's insane to imagine how humans have achieved so much through technology that we can fly astronauts in commercially built spacecrafts, and soon we'll be able to reach Mars and perhaps terraform it or something. The possibilities are endless.
And then the thing landed back down. That was the, space shuttle, well, not the space shuttle, I mean the land gear that decided to land down, and of course the camera goes out, like it always does. I don't know what the name of the part 2 of the shuttle that landed, and a little blast underneath it, to bring it down to this platform on the ocean, in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean, in the middle of nowhere where nobody can go to, because boats have been restricted to go there, so you can't film anything. And there's no footage of this thing actually coming in. But yet, you have a perfect picture. It blanks out, and then all of a sudden comes back in, and this thing is just perfectly landed there.
Are you talking about the boosters? They're important in assisting spacecrafts escape the gravitational pull of the Earth during the first 2 minutes or so of launch. Once the boosters are out of fuel, they are detached from the main body of the spacecraft because their presence would just add additional unwanted weight. Many of them land in the ocean, which is recollected and their materials recycled. But for more recent spacecraft such as the Falcon 9, the boosters would land on a platform so that it could be preserved for even more recycling purposes. Now, there's a reason the camera goes out. Because the platform where the booster lands is far out at sea, it needs to signal a satellite in order to get the live stream broadcasted. The signal needs to be directional in order for it to be strong enough. As the booster gets close to the platform, it shakes the platform due to the engine thrust, which disrupts the signal traveling to the satellite, ultimately cutting out the feed. That's why we don't see the landing specifically, but more so before and after it happens when the platform stabilizes. But anyway, I don't see why this is even a point for flat earthers to even bring up, because it's not that relevant to what they care about.
Okay, all I know, is what you're watching is all fake. It's all bullshit. They're not going anywhere. There's nothing up there. I mean, there's nothing up there. There are not even any fucking satellites. And if they are, then they're tied up with a fucking balloon. Just look at YouTube videos with balloons with satellites on it.
Am I the only one who thinks that's funny when someone points to YouTube videos as evidence of something? Imagine scientists trying to find a new treatment for cancer and one scientist goes, I don't need to do research, I've seen YouTube videos. Look them up yourself, they have the answers. Honestly, YouTube is a place with a lot of misinformation. You have people presenting things that goes against what we know from science, people claiming the wildest things. Never go to YouTube for reliable information. There are some educational channels out there, but for those I would still stick to checking the sources, because YouTube is just a platform for presenting your own opinions, that's it. And it seems that flat earthers have established quite a presence here. YouTube videos claiming that satellites are just strung up on balloons? How does anyone even believe that? Balloons can't stay in the air forever. The most likely outcome is that they begin leaking air and the balloon shrinks as it descends back to Earth. Now, if you're talking about those massive balloons, then yeah, they can stay in the sky for a longer period of time. But here's the thing, you can actually see satellites from Earth. Yep, this can be done with a vision enhancer such as a binocular, or even with just the naked eye. The chances of seeing one significantly increases if the satellite in question is in low Earth orbit, which according to Google, there are about 800 of them. So go ahead and find a satellite, then tell me if you see it being attached to a balloon, which would have to be pretty massive to hold up such a big object, because so far I don't see any balloons.
There's nothing up there. Every space picture that you've ever seen has no airplanes. It has no satellites. It's just got this revolving planet.
Why the fuck would you see airplanes and satellites in a space picture? That's like asking why you don't see any boats in a deep sea picture. As if airplanes can fly into deep space. Is that something you think is true? That airplanes can fly up so high that it'll be on the same level as Saturn? What kind of ridiculous shit is that? I'll fucking spank ya, mate.
Everything is all fucking CGI.
If it were CGI, it would look a lot better than what we have now. I mean, just look at space movies and such. Space is much prettier there than the pictures that NASA releases to us, or the footage of live streams. Why is that? It's because you can often fabricate something to look much better if it's fake, but that's not the case for real photos. I mean, sure, at this point you could say that NASA purposely made them look uglier so that it looks more realistic, but if they were truly hiding something and these pictures are fake, they could easily just make it all consistent to the images people already have in their heads. That would raise less suspicions. So far, your claims on CGI seems to hold no water. If you can provide some evidence, then I would greatly appreciate it. But if you're just going to constantly scream that they're fake, it's not convincing whatsoever.
You know, look, I was there. I believed all this shit. I was all in it. I was a fucking NASA fanboy like you wouldn't believe. Well, maybe not NASA. I didn't really give a shit about NASA, but I'm just saying I was a Star Trekker.
A Star Trekker?
And you know what really pisses me off, though? Is that I can't get one scientist to call me, or a professor or anything like that I can verify their degrees, and I could sit down and have a talk with them. You know, yet I have plenty of people that want to debate Flat Earth that are...
What do you mean? What's the difference here between having a conversation and debating? What are you expecting? If you get a scientist to talk to you and tell you how these things work, you're just going to deny what they say and it'll turn into a debate anyway. But if you're really interested in learning, then there are plenty of ways to get a hold of a scientist. If you know anyone in the field of astrophysics, there you go. A scientist isn't always someone with a PhD. Anyone studying or have studied the field are technically scientists. But if you want someone with actual credentials, you could just send a few emails. Find a university, view the list of staff, find a professor or researcher in astro or theoretical physics and shoot them an email. Given many of them are super busy and most don't want to have a call with someone they don't even know, but if you get lucky, someone will reply back to you. Or you can find a tutor in physics. There are plenty of places to do that online where you can find people with master's and PhD degrees willing to teach. You just pay them however much it is per hour and have them teach you. The point is, if you really wanted to have a, quote, conversation, there are plenty of options to fulfill your wish.
But what I need is somebody I can verify all their certificates of authenticity and have them live on my channel, and that might wake more people up.
See, I knew it. You're not looking to have a conversation, you're looking for a debate. So I ask again, what's the difference?
I mean, it's just so fucking bad. I mean, it's just so bad. I don't even know how to explain it to you. I watched a glitch when the there was two astronauts, and they actually entered the ISS. I watched the glitch, you're not going to believe me, and then all of a sudden I went back to record it, and then Elon Musk must have done something with the original video. So I just
Well, guess what? YouTube doesn't work that way. It saves the live stream replays as it is, and you can't make any major changes to it unless you completely re-upload a new video. So, sorry man, you were probably just mistaken.
It's all CGI. I mean, we can all do this in our own house. You know, with a couple of bucks, you've got the ISS behind you.
You know what would be more convincing is if you can actually do it yourself and then upload that video to show us how you did it. That would indeed be more convincing. You said it yourself, right? That anyone can do it, and with just a few bucks. So go ahead, I'll wait. Your channel is full of just you talking while driving in your car anyway, which is kind of cringe, so maybe you can make an actual video for once.
They've got glitches. They're not even wearing spacesuits, for fucking Christ. They're not even wearing spacesuits, for crying out loud. They're going into space, and they're not even in this big spacesuit that's been arranged.
I mean, you don't have to be in those spacesuits at all times, especially if you're in the spacecraft. You look kind of worked up there. You okay, buddy? Ultimately, this isn't going to affect your life in any way. I find that a lot of flat earthers get angry about this topic when I see no reason to be angry. I get it for, say, creationists when they talk about evolution because it would shake their belief of what they themselves are, or alternative medicine proponents because they actually believe that people are dying so that pharmaceutical companies can make money. But flat earth? There's not really anything to be angry about. Who cares if the earth is round or flat? It won't affect your own personal life, will it? That's what I think, at least. The video ends here, guys. I think I've had enough of flat earth. Thank you to all my patrons, especially Fireshard, Liam, Don Jessica, Joe Goldenberg, and JN. Have a good day and long live NASA.